Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get a notification of when we're releasing a new video. I'm sitting today with Willie Pelser. Hello, Willie. Good to have you in the hot seat again.
Yeah, thank you.
Willie, we read quite a bit about the disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street, and part of the narrative is that, you know, the markets keep going up, but that's not happening on the ground. But you've done some research that suggests more is happening on the ground than we would maybe even understand. So tell us what you've dug in. And
yeah, Robin, it's definitely, when the word bubble comes across your screen, you always get a fright in the sense, because the bubble can burst. Yes. And that's obviously what they write about. So I'm not going to go into the detail whether we're in an AI bubble or not. But it does make you concerned when everybody writes and say the market's going to collapse, because we sit in front of clients and they say, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? So what did I do? Robin, I went back sort of two and a half years just on the GDP in America, because what's striking is actually every time they release, they do a revision upwards. Okay. So there's an expectation that GDP will grow, and I'm just going to use numbers, so don't quote them as a quarterly number or anything. They expect that GDP will grow at 2%. Yes. And then the first estimate comes out and say, yeah, maybe 2.1 or something, and then we get the final number and it's 2.5. You know, so just the magnitude every time of that higher GDP than previously anticipated was triggered me just to ask the question, but where is this coming from? So your reference to Main Street is, yes, what's happening on the ground. So the age-old equation of the GDP number is it comes from consumer spending, it comes from government, it comes from investment, physical investment, call it the hardware of the economy, the buildings, the bridges, that type of thing, and then imports, exports. So what actually came through, Robin, in general through all the stats is there's obviously pockets for reasons. So the one reason on the consumer side, the market's going up. So there's a general wealth creation that happens on the consumer side. Yes. So the times when there was an upward revision and it came from the consumer side, it was just they could face the interest rate hikes, they could face the turmoil or whatever nature it was in the last 2 years because of this general wealth effect. Then we go back to the period where we had the tariff announcements. So in anticipation of all of those things, we had huge imports. So that sort of raised the flag, okay, but if you import a lot, your GDP should come down because your import cost is higher now. But the anticipation of doing all of that went then into an investment cycle. Okay. So just before we get price hike, I'm doing this and I'm implementing. So whether it's systems or physical or whatever. So there was a pent-up demand, but actually an execution. So that raised the so-called gross fixed capital formation, your increase in the investment cycle. Now, AI has got an element of that. We talk about these data centers. So a data center does need cement. Yes. It does need a piece of steel. It needs a solar panel. So let's walk away from the chips and that type of thing. And then after all the things have been now imported and installed, the Americans exported again. So suddenly your export component of that thing was slightly higher. So it's a mix between all of that. Yeah. Now one can argue, yes, that's despite the implication of inflation, it's despite the implication of higher interest rates and so on. But physically, yeah, Main Street is doing something. Yes. Another number I looked at was the so-called jobless claims. So again, if you look at that phase, quite a few times there were less people on a Friday, in principle, standing at the queue saying, I'm jobless. Yes. And that's an outflow of a stronger GDP. Yes. Yeah. Now, if I look at all of that, hopefully South Africa can get to a phase where we can revise our GDPs every quarter higher and less people unemployed, you know. Yes. So, but yeah, Robin, that was my sort of analysis, just to think about this disconnect. Are we in a bubble? Because if the bubble extends and there's no GDP, there's no activity, then I would be concerned. Yes, yes.
So. And Willie, I mean, ultimately, we haven't even really, I mean, we're not even going to speculate in terms of the bubble. And I mean, I've had a number of people send me an interview by a big hedge fund manager in his 80s who's calling a massive crash.
Yeah.
But if you listen to it a little bit more closely, he's not calling quite the crash that he was suggesting. But ultimately, we haven't even, I mean, there's a lot of concern as to how AI is actually going to roll out in companies, but we haven't even begun to see the benefits of the productivity that AI can do into the economy, have we?
No, Robin, and again, that's marginal. A while ago, I think I mentioned it. I wrote the Intuition article on it just to look at it. And that's probably 6 months ago. And in 6 months, AI can do a lot. But that's an unknown. It's a known factor in the sense it will increase productivity. So, but just to give you an example, and our listeners an example, we're going through a company where they use, we're looking at a company and analyzing and so on, and they use personnel. They use research analysts to do work for them, so see it as a global consulting firm example type of thing. So the question we're going in our minds is, if AI replaces these people, where's productivity going? And it's interesting when you do analyze then the AI agent concept, the individual might be replaced by an object that does the research, but that research and that analysis happens at a cost to the client. So you still have employment. The enhancement on the productivity element might just be, you've promised this report previously to take a year. Now it might be 9 months or 6 months type of thing, but we're not losing out. So it's still coming. And unfortunately, again, Robin, with the buzzword around AI, there's no time element to it. Some areas it happens slow and some areas it happens fast. But I think in years to come, there's an individual, I'm not going to quote names here, that you and I like to listen to, who's got a view that 5, 6, 7, 8, even 10% GDP growth in a couple of years' time in the US won't be a number that we think, wow, this is different. It will be the norm. So, but again, I understand, you understand the analysis, we get there. I'm not quoting it, I'm not saying it's coming.
There's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee, but there is a momentum from a productivity. And the other thing as well, Robin, for an individual, if I think my job is under threat, I'm going to work super hard to keep my job and not give it to the machine or the robot. So that in itself has a productivity and an investment enhancement over time. So.
We've been through this multiple times, so we don't have typing pools anymore, and that kind of thing. So I mean, I think we have seen that you have to keep reinventing yourself, and the world will continue to change, and it's just changing faster, isn't it?
Yeah, Robin, we receive a WhatsApp from a research house. They've changed the WhatsApp font to dot matrix. Remember those printers that went around on the pillow? And I challenged them and said, well, the world has moved on. Why are you going backwards? So they said they just want us to read differently. So.
To stand out in the crowd. So. Yeah, awesome. Willie, thanks so much for giving us that insight. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.